Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, June 8th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A major change is in the works tonight when it comes to our businesses, restaurants, and venues. Come tomorrow morning, capacity limits will increase now that our tier level is decreasing. As KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman tells us, officials are still making it clear the virus isn't going away.
The pandemic is not over. June 15th is not the magic date or bullet.
County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says we're still seeing about 100 COVID-19 cases per day, but things are definitely slowing down as the state prepares to lift nearly all COVID-19 restrictions next week.
We are near the end of the tunnel. We are optimistic that the worst of COVID-19 may now be in the rearview mirror.
Another sign the situation is improving. San Diego is moving to the state's least restrictive yellow reopening tier that allows for more capacity at businesses and group events.
And that is a tremendous testament to San Diegans' willingness to get vaccinated and a tremendous testament to our entire healthcare system.
County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says San Diego is about 80% toward its goal to herd immunity. And in addition to the state's incentives, those cash prizes, county officials are doing their own, now partnering with the San Diego Padres, entering those vaccinated in raffles for tickets, and there will be 2 pop-up vaccination sites coming to Petco Park.
The first is coming this Saturday on June 12th, and the second is on June 26th. The first 1,000 people vaccinated at each of these Petco events gets a free commemorative T-shirt.
Officials say vaccine supply is not an issue.
We now have more vaccines than we have people that want to get vaccinated.
There's a big push this month to reach those unvaccinated with mobile teams. Then officials say vaccine distribution will be similar to flu shots, meaning the once very busy superstations will soon be closing.
When you have a fire and you declare a state of emergency, that state of emergency continues beyond, because it is a part of the rebuild, it is a part of the recovery.
County officials say to align with the state, they will be extending its state of emergency to the end of the year, but that doesn't necessarily mean more restrictions post June 15th.
Day-to-day life for San Diegans will revert to as close to normal as we've been in more than a year and a half.
County health officials are still tracking a number of variants that could be more contagious or less receptive to the vaccines. Public reports about our local COVID-19 situation will soon shift to weekly, and after next week, those regular weekly news briefings will only happen as necessary. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And as for the changes coming tomorrow with the yellow tier, restaurants and gyms can increase to 50% capacity indoors. Bars can expand to 25% capacity, and outdoor gatherings can include up to 200 people. And as we look ahead to the end of the COVID pandemic, we also assess the losses suffered by so many over the past year and a half. But there is some major financial help that is on the way for our region. KPBS reporter John Carroll says the County Board of Supervisors approved how to divvy up about $650 million worth of federal relief.
It would be easy and understandable to think that we're basically done with COVID next Wednesday when the state's tier system of health restrictions expires. But the damage done to lives, to livelihoods, will linger. Today, the County Board of Supervisors discussed how to distribute nearly $650 million of relief from the American Rescue Plan Act.
No one deserves to be homeless. No one deserves to be struggling. No one.
Mia Roseberry co-founded and runs Wounded Warrior Homes based in San Marcos.
We provide transitional housing and reintegrative support services for post 9/11 veterans with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress.
Like so many nonprofits, Roseberry says she could use more financial help, especially when it comes to assisting veterans experiencing homelessness.
It was somewhere between 20 and 25% of the homeless are veterans in San Diego. So a significant funding from the county with regarding to housing would always be very helpful to, like I said, help us to plan for long-range funding.
Here's a big picture breakdown of how county staff is recommending the money be distributed. The lion's share, $307.5 million, would go to costs already incurred from the pandemic and money to deal with it into the future. As you can see, homeless services, small business, infrastructure, mental health, and premium pay for county workers who stayed on the job during the crisis would all get assistance.
A lot of small businesses still need cash support. So that they can pay their employees, pay their rent.
Though the Chamber of Commerce represents many types of businesses, Jerry Sanders says restaurants are among the hardest hit. Many shelled out thousands to build outdoor dining spaces, and with the on-again, off-again closures, purchasing food was a vexing proposition.
And they wouldn't know whether to buy it or not, and they'd have to just take a chance and buy it. And sometimes they just would end up throwing it away.
The premium pay portion of the money for essential county employees is opposed by Supervisor Joel Anderson. Overall, Chairman Nathan Fletcher says the help should be coming soon.
And our hope is by summer, folks will be able to
represent a big forward step in helping the people of this county recover from the COVID pandemic. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A new report from the Biden administration says more than 3,900 migrant children were separated from their parents under President Trump's zero-tolerance policy. But as KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel shows us, that hasn't stopped people from arriving at the border.
Former President Trump's zero-tolerance policy aimed to discourage migration. But that didn't stop the thousands of families who came and continue to come every day to seek asylum in the U.S. Monday morning, a 5-year-old child was dropped off near the San Isidro border. San Diego Sector Border Patrol officers saw the young Guatemalan girl walking along the Tijuana River Channel by herself. This comes as the Biden administration works to reunite families who were separated at the border. Biden's Reunification of Families Task Force found 3,913 children were separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border from July 2017 to the end of Trump's presidency. However, that number is far lower than the 5,500 children identified by the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU's Deputy Director, Lee Gallant, explains the discrepancy in the numbers reported.
The government has excluded for the time being parents who they believe may have criminal histories. And so we have noted, and I don't think the government disputes this, that there were more than 5,500 children separated.
According to the task force, out of the 3,900 children, only 1,700 have been reunited with a parent. Nearly 60% of the children were identified as Guatemalans. This week, Vice President Kamala Harris was in Guatemala on a diplomatic mission, where she discouraged Guatemalans from trying to cross to the U.S.
Do not come. Do not come.
That's the wrong message to be sending, because you have to say to people, if you're in danger now, our border is open.
In the coming weeks, the White House says it will reunite over 24 families that were separated at the southern border. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
Vice President Kamala Harris wrapped up her first foreign trip as VP in Mexico today. She told Mexico's president their two countries are embarking on a new era as she seeks greater cooperation to cut down on immigration to the U.S. According to data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Mexicans accounted for 36% of encounters with people who crossed illegally in April, the largest nationality.
There is work we are also doing together that relates to our shared interest and concern about smuggling, in particular human trafficking, an issue I've worked on for a long time. We have a shared interest in what is happening in terms of narcotics and the trafficking of narcotics.
Harris also met female entrepreneurs and held a roundtable with labor leaders in Mexico before heading back to Washington. A San Diego-based FBI program has led to the arrests of more than 800 suspects around the world. Agents say the suspects sent messages about criminal activity on what they thought was encrypted cell phone technology. They didn't know that the FBI was watching. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer has more on Operation Trojan Shield.
Drug trafficking, money laundering, and murders. Just some of the topics divulged through every message on the phones of criminals who believed they were communicating on a secure messaging service called ANOM. But acting United States Attorney Randy Grossman says ANOM was actually the FBI's Trojan Shield program, which tracked every bit of information.
The criminals using these devices believed they were secretly planning crimes far beneath the radar of law enforcement. But in reality, the criminals were not underneath the radar. They were on it. The FBI was monitoring those conversations.
ANOM was a Trojan horse the FBI used to replace a pair of encryption companies it had previously shut down. It provided criminals with what they thought was a secure way to communicate. Special Agent Suzanne Turner is in charge of the FBI's field office in San Diego. She says the FBI collected more than 27 million messages, many about specific criminal activities.
It was exactly what car was coming to what location, what maybe vessel or ship, and they were very explicit in their detail because they believed it was secure communications.
Operation Trojan Shield led to the takedown of hundreds of criminals, with police raids in 16 nations. They seized drugs, guns, cars, cash, and cryptocurrencies, and agents say prevented murders.
Authorities have searched more than 700 locations, deploying more than 9,000 law enforcement officers worldwide, and they've seized multi-ton quantities of illicit drugs.
The Trojan Shield arrests are the culmination of more than 5 years of investigation. Federal agents say after this, criminals won't be so sure if they can trust encrypted messaging services. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
A new Senate report is revealing significant new details in how security and police prepared for the attack on the U.S. Capitol. And as Isabel Rosales reports, what is not in the report is almost as important as what is.
Stunning new details about the deadly January 6 attack on the Capitol. A bipartisan Senate investigation report found miscommunications, a breakdown in intelligence, and unheeded warnings.
These police officers were put, as I said, in an impossible position. Right. They didn't have adequate training. They didn't have adequate equipment. They didn't have adequate barriers. They didn't have adequate communication.
The 127-page report reveals intelligence officers were aware of the potential for violence, but not everyone was warned. Officials also underestimated online chatter and struggled to separate protected free speech from illegal threats of violence.
Our mission right now was to protect this Capitol going forward.
Sources tell CNN Democrats took steps to not estrange their Republican counterparts. The report doesn't fully explore what brought rioters to Washington or former President Donald Trump's role.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
And avoids the term insurrection.
It wasn't insurrection, and it was very clear. The facts show that. The report is just focused on the security, but that's why we need a commission.
Senate Republicans already rejected the creation of a 9/11-style bipartisan commission to investigate. The report offers 65 recommendations, including improved storage of police equipment, better training and communication, and interpretation of intelligence. In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
Pfizer is opening up its COVID-19 vaccine trials to include children 11 years old and younger. The company plans to enroll up to 4,500 children across 90 sites in the U.S., Finland, Poland, and Spain. The testing will include children as young as 6 months old. Participants will get 2 shots of smaller doses, and right now Pfizer is authorized in the U.S. for children 12 and older. Meanwhile, Moderna says its COVID vaccine will likely be available for children as young as 5 years old in early fall. The company is also testing its shots in children as young as 6 months old. And if you haven't been vaccinated yet or need to help a family member find a shot, we have all the information that you need on our website. Just click on the vaccines link on our homepage at kpbs.org to find a place close to you. The move to close a North County group home for foster children has put a spotlight on foster care in San Diego County. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne has a look at how the system is changing, especially after COVID-19.
In 2015, the Assembly passed a bill to eliminate most group homes for foster youth. The ultimate goal was to maintain a stable, permanent family for foster children. Congregate care, the use of group homes, was to be limited to short-term interventions. That's something Teresa Stivers says her organization did decades ago.
When we see the youth who enter our program at 18 from a group home,
The majority of them don't have a GED. They have no life skills whatsoever. They don't know how to live independently or even out in the community. They've been told what to do every day, every minute of their lives.
Stivers is the CEO of Walden Family Services. She says when her foster care agency was established in 1976, they only worked with group homes.
So we changed very quickly to move into foster care in a family situation. Because if we don't teach these children to learn how to live in a family situation when they're young, when are they going to learn? It's going to be much more beneficial to them as they get older.
Raja Gainey was born into the foster care system and spent his childhood living in different places.
In between 7 to 11, I went through probably, I want to say around 9 or 10 different foster homes and probably maybe 4 or 5 different schools. I've been in a couple different group homes by that time.
Gainey says that through his experience, he preferred the family setting over the group home.
Just the environment, it was more so just kind of like summer camp, extended summer camp. And, you know, that's fun for a kid, but for my education, it really suffered. I had challenges when I was moving back to certain foster homes. I was moving to new schools. So obviously, if you're somewhere for an extended period of time, once you get back to your regular routine, it's a challenge.
At 11 years old, Gainey found stability when he got referred to Walden Family Services.
They really supported, you know, me and making sure that I was stable. And then also when it came time for me to transition out of foster care, which was a challenge, Walden really stepped up and tried to find as many resources and opportunities to help me and other kids get out.
Gainey is now on the board for Walden Family Services, has a family of his own, and has stayed in touch with his mentor for 26 years.
Hey Raj, what's up, man? Great to see you. How you doing? Good. How are you?
Walden offers a treatment team that helps individualize what each case needs, work that didn't stop because of the pandemic.
We continued to place children during the pandemic. We placed children who had COVID, and our nurse came up with a plan. The families agreed to quarantine. So we worked nonstop as essential workers. It didn't stop for us just because of the pandemic.
Stivers says she expects the entire child welfare system will be busier than ever this next year due to the aftermath of the pandemic.
Well, we're very concerned. You know, children are being seen for the first time in over 12 months. They're being seen by all the mandated reporters, whether they're in the doctor's offices, they're in sports, they're in the schools. So a huge number of children are entering into the foster care system due to all of the stress and abuse and neglect that's happened during the pandemic.
Another stressor for the system is the expansion of foster care to youths aged 18 to 21. Stivers says more resources, donations, and foster families are always needed. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The San Diego City Council has given final approval to an agreement with San Diego Gas and Electric to provide energy services to the city. It includes an initial term of 10 years with a 10-year renewal that could be voided if 2/3 of the council agrees. SDG&E agreed to pay the city $70 million for electricity service and $10 million for gas. The company is also paying $20 million to help advance the city's climate equity goals and $10 million in solar energy rebates. The agreement will go into effect later this month or next. The observance of World Ocean Day comes at a time when the planet's largest bodies of water are being challenged by climate and people. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says that does not keep the ocean from revealing impressive scenes.
The gray whale migration is a yearly attraction in San Diego waters. In spring, moms and their calves leave the warm birthing lagoons in Mexico and head to Alaskan waters to feed. The sight can be breathtaking as the giant mammals make their way north. These videos were shot in late April, just off the coast of San Diego, and whales were not the only attraction that day. A large pod of dolphins had gathered just offshore and entertained the whale watchers as well.
That was amazing, isn't it? And then we saw huge dolphin pods right there, right in the same place. We were like, wanted to jump with them in the ocean. It was so great. It's just incredible.
But these are not the best of times for the delicate ecosystems in the ocean's open water and nearshore environments. Oceans cover 3/4 of the planet's surface and they help regulate the climate, but The bodies of water are under pressure.
In San Diego, that includes from sewage, like from the Tijuana River, a huge amount of plastic, all the carbon that's going into the ocean as well from pollution, overfishing, overdevelopment, you name it, we seem to be throwing it at the ocean.
Wild Coast's Serge Dedina remains hopeful that the ocean can restore itself if given time. He says the marine protected areas off the coast of La Jolla are a perfect example of what's possible. And while the ocean is under assault from the people who live next to it, it still manages to show us some pretty incredible things. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Well, the cool air was nice while it lasted. Unfortunately, it's not going to last much longer. The cool air is going to be retreating, and we're going to see temperatures on the rise again, and no rain in sight for you here in Southern California. Temperatures for tonight in the metro dropping off into the low 60s. We'll see some increase in cloud cover out there during the overnight period as per usual, but no real major changes on the way. Temperatures dropping off into the mid 50s in Oceanside, Escondido getting down to 53 degrees, Borrego Springs 65 for you for tonight. Looking ahead to Wednesday, it's going to be another pleasant day. We're going to have this cold front that's going to slide southward, but it doesn't look like it's going to move in here into southern portions of California. It does look like it's still going to stay pretty toasty out there for us on Wednesday. Temperatures right at 70 degrees in Oceanside, really all up and down the coast. We're going to be right around 70 degrees. Further inland, it's still pretty nice. Mid-90s for you out in Borrego Springs. Thursday, we'll see some big changes in the Pacific Northwest, but for us down here, we're likely not going to see a whole lot of impact from this cooler push of air. You'll notice that that dip in the jet stream stays north of us, and so that means it'll still stay nice, and for some of you, even hot out there as we head into your Thursday. So near the coast, temperatures right around 70 degrees today, tomorrow, but after that, we warm back up into the mid-70s here over the next couple of days. Further inland, temperatures climb from the mid to upper 70s here today, tomorrow, Thursday, back up into the mid to upper 80s by the time we get to Friday and into this weekend. In the mountains, not a whole lot of change here from the 60s on your Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but we could warm up into the 70s as we head into the weekend. And the big change here, once again, is in the desert. Temperatures today, tomorrow, even into Thursday, holding steady in the mid-90s, but after that, it's up and away into the triple digits we go. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
The U.S. has a record number of job openings as businesses look to recover from the pandemic. 9.3 million new positions were added in April. That's the highest overall number since the Bureau of Labor Statistics started tracking the data in 2000. But millions of jobs were also left unfilled, with employers hiring 6 million people. Economists say unemployed people may not be ready to go back to work, citing health risks and childcare responsibility. California grape growers are among those facing a shortage of workers. Now, as Elizabeth Kling reports, researchers at UC Davis think they might have a solution: robots.
California's wine industry is threatened by pests, drought, and wildfires. But now a lack of labor is creating another worry for farmers.
It's a real challenge.
Fewer workers are available at a time when vineyards are growing larger.
Our estimate is like, we have 2/3 less people working in, wine grapes now.
So now more grape growers are turning to technology to harvest and maintain crops.
The pressure is more intense than ever to provide for more certainty through automation and robotics.
UC Davis researchers are leading the effort to automate vineyards with robots.
They're semi-autonomous. We will set these things up, and then a tractor driver pulls the machine. There are even tractors that can drive themselves.
Their study shows the technology has a higher upfront cost, but becomes more economical after about 2 seasons.
We're going from $1.20 to about 12 to 22 cents per vine.
While the new technology reduces the need for more manual labor, it also creates new high-wage jobs.
You need very skilled people to be able to operate these machines.
And there's a surprising benefit. Research shows mechanically maintained crops come out tasting better.
The vine is higher up off the ground, so it has better flavor, it has better color, which winemakers desire.
You'll get a deeper, richer, sensation from these vines.
A taste of new technology, giving growers a glimpse of future farming.
Quality is much, much better.
That was Elizabeth Kling reporting. Grapes are California's third largest crop. The industry is valued at about $6 billion per year.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, insurrection aftermath. The U.S. Senate reports on security failures on January 6th. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's another look at our top story. San Diego County will move into the least restrictive yellow tier tomorrow morning. It comes just 6 days before the state throws out the tiered reopening blueprint. That's on June 15th. Restaurants and gyms can increase to 50% capacity indoors, while bars can expand to 25% capacity. And outdoor gatherings can include up to 200 people. And as of yesterday, almost 60% of San Diego County residents 12 and older are fully vaccinated against the coronavirus. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. I hope you have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.